She felt it before she understood it. A quiet smile, a faster heartbeat, a name that stayed longer in her prayers than it should have. But instead of running toward the feeling, she knelt down, because a woman of God doesn't just fall in love, she places love in God's hands first. She didn't plan to have a crush. It arrived quietly, like a soft melody playing in the background of her ordinary days. A smile that felt warm. A presence that made silence comfortable. Her heart noticed before her mind could stop it. But she was a woman of God, and she had learned something important about love. Not every feeling needs to be followed, but every feeling needs to be understood. In the love stories of the world, a crush is chased. It's fed with daydreams, late-night thoughts, and hurried decisions. But her story was different. When her heart leaned toward someone, she leaned toward God. She whispered his name in prayer, not in possession, but in surrender. Lord, she prayed, if this feeling is from you, let it grow. If it is not, teach my heart to let go. She didn't deny her emotions. She felt them fully. She smiled when she thought of him. She felt the flutter when he spoke. But she refused to let feelings sit on the throne of her life. Love, in her world, was not reckless, it was reverent. She guarded her heart, not because love scared her, but because her heart was sacred. She knew that a crush could either become a blessing or a distraction. So she chose wisdom over impulse, peace over fantasy. She reminded herself that real love doesn't rush, doesn't pressure, and doesn't pull her away from God, it brings her closer. Sometimes the waiting was hard. Sometimes she wondered why God allowed her to feel something she couldn't yet act on. But she trusted that delay was not denial. She believed that if the love was meant to stay, it would survive patience. And if it was meant to leave, God would gently untangle her heart. In her love story, she didn't chase. She prepared. She became the woman who could love deeply without losing herself. She learned that the right person would never compete with God, never confuse her faith, and never make her compromise her values. So when a woman of God handles a crush, she does it with grace. She prays more than she pursues. She listens more than she imagines. And she believes, with quiet confidence, that the most beautiful love stories are written by God, not rushed by the heart. If it's love, it will wait. If it's God's will, it will stay. And if it's not, her heart will still be whole, because it was always held by God first. It begins quietly, without permission or warning. A crush doesn't knock on the door of the heart, it slips in through a smile, a shared moment, a gentle kindness that lingers longer than expected. For a woman of God, the feeling is not unfamiliar, but the way she responds to it is intentional. She notices the warmth in her chest, the way her thoughts return to one person again and again, and instead of pretending the feeling doesn't exist, she acknowledges it with honesty before God. She understands that having a crush does not make her weak in faith. It makes her human. Her heart was designed to feel, to connect, to recognize beauty and character. But she has learned that emotions, while powerful, are not meant to lead her life. So when her heart begins to lean, her spirit moves first. She doesn't rush to define the feeling, label it as destiny, or imagine a future built only on emotion. She takes the feeling into prayer, because prayer is where clarity lives. In prayer, she doesn't ask God to make the crush happen. She asks God to reveal the truth behind it. She opens her heart fully, not hiding her excitement, her curiosity, or even her confusion. She tells God why this person stands out, what she admires, and what her heart hopes for. Prayer becomes her safe place, where feelings are examined, not entertained blindly. Through prayer, she begins to see the difference between attraction and alignment. She asks herself whether this feeling draws her closer to God or quietly pulls her attention away. She listens for peace rather than butterflies, because she knows peace lasts longer than excitement. Guidance, for her, is not loud or dramatic, it is gentle, steady, and rooted in faith. She learns to wait in prayer, allowing time to reveal intentions, character, and consistency. Instead of feeding the crush with imagination, she feeds her spirit with trust. She believes that if the feeling is from God, it will remain steady without her forcing it. And if it is not, God will soften her heart enough to release it without bitterness. A woman of God lets prayer shape her response before action shapes her story. She chooses to be led, not by impulse, but by discernment. Her heart may feel first, but her knees touch the ground before her feet move forward, because she knows that love guided by prayer protects her heart, honors God, and keeps her emotions from becoming her master. When a crush settles into the heart, impatience often follows. The desire to know, to define, to move forward can feel overwhelming. But a woman of God understands that love does not rush ahead of God, it walks beside him. She feels the pull of her emotions, yet she resists the urge to act before the season is right. Waiting, for her, is not passive, it is an act of faith. She lives in a world that glorifies instant connection and quick confessions, where love is expected to move fast or be forgotten. Still, she chooses patience, not because she lacks courage, but because she trusts God's timing more than her own emotions. She knows that feelings can be strong today and uncertain tomorrow, but God's plans unfold with purpose and precision. Waiting becomes her way of honoring both her heart and her faith. In her quiet moments, she wrestles with the ache of not knowing. She wonders why God would allow her heart to feel something so real and then ask her to wait. Yet she reminds herself that delay is often preparation. God uses time to reveal character, to test intentions, and to mature love beyond infatuation. Through waiting, she grows emotionally and spiritually, becoming someone who can love deeply without losing herself. She practices patience by setting boundaries, protecting her thoughts, and refusing to build fantasies that run ahead of reality. She doesn't replay imagined conversations or write futures in her mind. Instead, she grounds herself in the present, allowing God to show her the truth step by step. Waiting teaches her self-control, and self-control strengthens her trust. Love, in her story, is not proven by urgency but by endurance. She believes that what is meant for her will not require anxiety, manipulation, or constant questioning. If it is God's will, it will unfold naturally, without forcing moments or manufacturing closeness. She learns to find peace in uncertainty, knowing that God sees what she cannot. As she waits, she continues living fully. She grows in her purpose, deepens her faith, and nurtures her relationship with God. She does not pause her life for a crush, she allows God to shape her life while her heart learns patience. Waiting becomes a sacred space where trust replaces fear, faith quiets doubt, and love is refined into something steady, intentional, and rooted in God's perfect timing. A woman of God knows that her heart is a sacred space, a place where emotions, dreams, and faith intersect. When a crush enters her life, she feels the flutter of excitement, the warmth of attention, and the curiosity of possibility. Yet she also understands that not every feeling deserves free rein. To guard her heart is not to close it off, it is to protect it with wisdom, love, and discernment. She recognizes the difference between vulnerability and recklessness. Vulnerability allows her to feel deeply, to care sincerely, and to experience the beauty of human connection. Recklessness, however, ignores boundaries, jumps ahead of discernment, and allows emotions to dominate judgment. Guarding her heart means creating a balance. She honors her feelings without letting them dictate her actions or compromise her values. One way she does this is by maintaining clarity of mind. She observes her crush with honesty, noticing the qualities that attract her and the ones that may be hidden beneath charm or first impressions. She asks herself whether this person encourages her faith or distracts her from it, whether his words and actions align with the character she respects and the values she holds dear. Guarding her heart is an act of mindfulness. It is paying attention to both the beauty and the caution signs, without losing sight of either. She also sets emotional boundaries. She is careful not to give away pieces of her heart too quickly, understanding that intimacy grows gradually and intentionally. She shares her thoughts, her smiles, and her time thoughtfully, not out of fear, but out of discernment. This doesn't mean she is cold or distant, it means she values her heart and the role it plays in her relationship with God. Even while she guards her heart, she does not harden it. She allows herself to feel joy in the small gestures, tenderness in conversations, and warmth in shared moments. She acknowledges the excitement of a crush without letting it define her worth or her choices. Hardening the heart would protect her from pain, but it would also prevent love from growing in God's timing. Guarding her heart is about protection and preparation, not rejection or denial. Through prayer, reflection, and intentional action, she cultivates a heart that is both safe and open, safe from harm, yet open to God's plan. She learns that love flourishes best not when it is forced or hurried, but when it is nurtured with patience, respect, and unwavering faith. A woman of God experiences emotions fully. When a crush enters her life, she feels the excitement, the flutter, the curiosity, and even the longing that comes with noticing someone in a special way. She doesn't dismiss these feelings or pretend they aren't there, because she knows that emotions are part of being human. They are gifts, signals from the heart that point to attraction, admiration, or connection. But she also knows that feelings, no matter how intense, are not meant to govern her decisions or lead her life. Faith must be the leader, and her heart must follow the path God sets. She learns to differentiate between what feels good and what is good. Her heart may rejoice in the little things, the smile, the attention, the kindness, but her spirit evaluates each moment through the lens of faith. She asks herself, does this crush lead me closer to God, or does it distract me from Him? Does my longing reflect a desire for companionship, or is it feeding impatience, fantasy, or anxiety? Faith, in her life, acts as the compass, guiding her through feelings that could otherwise become confusion or missteps. She also practices discernment with her thoughts. When her mind drifts toward daydreams about this person, she redirects her focus to prayer, scripture, or acts of service. She allows herself to enjoy the warmth of her feelings without letting them write the story of her life. Her faith teaches her that real love is not built solely on attraction or chemistry, it is built on respect, values, and God's purpose. She understands that a crush may be fleeting, but faith endures. Even in moments of uncertainty, when her heart wants to act impulsively, she pauses. She seeks God's wisdom before sharing words, feelings, or intentions. This discipline does not suppress her emotions, instead, it channels them into clarity and patience. Her heart learns that feelings are signals, but they are not the final authority. Decisions, conversations, and actions are made with prayer and discernment, ensuring that her emotions are led by her faith rather than leading it. She also acknowledges the power of surrender. While her feelings are real, she surrenders them to God, trusting that He knows the right timing, the right person, and the right outcome. She allows her faith to guide the way, believing that the heart that follows God will never be misled, even when emotions pull strongly in different directions. Faith becomes the anchor, steadying her through the uncertainty and excitement of a crush, ensuring that her heart remains aligned with God's plan rather than drifting in the tides of impulse and Desiree. A woman of God understands that love is not something to be forced, manipulated, or rushed. When she develops a crush, she does not try to script the story herself, because she knows that God is the ultimate author of every heart connection. She allows Him to lead the way, trusting that if this feeling is part of His plan, the details of the relationship will unfold in the right season and in the right manner. Her heart may be eager, her mind curious, but she steps back and lets God write the narrative, confident that His guidance will produce something beautiful, lasting, and aligned with His will. She learns that human timing and divine timing are rarely the same. While she may feel the urge to confess, to chase, or to define the relationship immediately, she practices patience. She reminds herself that God's timing is perfect and that a love story orchestrated by Him will not need to be forced or hurried. Every interaction, every word, and every choice is filtered through prayer, discernment, and trust. She allows God to work in the details, knowing that even what seems delayed is often preparation for something better than she could imagine. Trusting God to write the love story does not make her passive. Instead, it makes her intentional in her choices, mindful of her boundaries, and deliberate in her actions. She invests in her growth, her character, and her faith while waiting. She becomes the kind of woman capable of loving fully, wisely, and selflessly. She nurtures her own heart, her ambitions, and her spiritual life, understanding that when God brings the right person, she will meet them as a whole, prepared, and ready for a love that complements her journey rather than complicates it. She also embraces surrender in moments of uncertainty. When feelings are strong, and the heart wonders about the future, she releases control, giving her emotions and desires into God's hands. She prays not just for clarity, but for alignment, asking that her heart remain open to what is right, and closed to what is wrong. She does not assume that every crush is meant to become a relationship, she trusts God to distinguish between what is fleeting and what is enduring. Even in the quiet moments, when anticipation and curiosity pull at her heart, she remains confident that God will orchestrate encounters, conversations, and circumstances according to His plan. She knows that love written by human hands can be fragile, but love written by God is steadfast. Her heart rests in the assurance that if it is meant to be, God Himself will ensure the story unfolds in the most perfect way, at the most perfect time, bringing together hearts in alignment with His will.